enlightenment and the obstacles to enlightenment. So I was just chatting with my wife about the satsangs that I run and the one-on-one sessions that I offer. And I mentioned to my wife that it occurs to me, or that I can observe, that there is principally one major obstacle that keeps on presenting itself in the life of the seeker of enlightenment. And it's essentially the fundamental thing that any teacher in the tradition of non-duality encounters and then points out, which is the case of mistaken identity, is that essentially the student or the seeker of enlightenment is given the teaching, is told that you're not the body, you're not the mind, you're pure consciousness. And that pure consciousness that you are is the here itself. It is the nowness itself. It's not one of the things that either can be present or absent. Rather, it is presence itself, which is not an object. And so the fundamental obstacle that keeps on presenting itself in my view, based on interactions with people, is that the seeker essentially receives this teaching, and either it goes into the heart, it penetrates in, and there's a silence, and it opens you up, or you could say it bounces off. And so the problem is, if it bounces off, people don't necessarily reach down and pick it up and look at it, which is the best response. It bounced off, okay, you reach down, you pick it up, you look at it, and put it in your pocket. And then every now and then, take it out and look at it again. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I am the all-pervading reality. What does that mean? You know, how can I realize that? How does that affect my life in the world? And is there anything that you ponder with respect to that insight? Is the sadhana process, mulling over it, as Nisargadatta used to say. So, but what happens is that as a general rule, the teacher takes this arrow and releases it to the disciple's heart, and the arrow lands while the student is midstream, typically pursuing some goal that's relative to, and that's defined by, and that exists within the field of the identification with the body and mind. So people are the spiritual seeker is often pursuing a goal that's relative to, that's related to the very mistaken identity that the arrow of non-duality is seeking to dislodge. You see, the arrow of non-duality is seeking to bump up against the identified consciousness and jolt it into recognizing its own unlimited, ever-present, non-finite and non-objective nature. But The seeker is typically and naturally, there's none of these things are anything wrong. This is just an observation of what typically happens. What often happens is that the seeker is pursuing to get rid of some painful state, and then to attain some pleasant state of the body and the mind. And so the teacher will say, will repeatedly point out that everything in phenomenality is in yin and yang. There's good stuff happens, bad stuff happens. And that the play of yin and yang is inherently designed in such a way that the warp and the woof of the play of circumstances is we get what we want, we don't get what we want. So the way I worded it to my wife was, as a human being, we are either in a problematic state at the level of phenomenality, right? We are either facing a problem, like we're in the midst of a problem, or we are on our way to a problem, like there's a problem just around the corner, or we're on our way out of a problem. You see, so the only place in which there are no problems is where? When you're on your way to a problem. You can say you've just transcended a problem. That's another way of saying you're on your way to another problem. The human condition is like a problem game. There's problems. So the teacher of Advaita, the non-duality teacher, has the curious task of getting the student or the seeker to reorientate, if you will, their entire being, to reorientate the deepest current of their heart attention, the deepest current of the heart mind, out of identification with this phenomenal expression, this human journey, and into the noumenal presence, which is to say, to get the student to stop the identification with objectivity and to reorientate and reintegrate into the noumenal subjectivity, which is infinity and wholeness. And so one of the things that's difficult to convey is that reintegration with the wholeness of totality in no way grants you, as a human object, as an organism, as a body mind, it in no way grants you immunity from the nature of the manifestation, or the nature of phenomenality, which is the yin and yang, which is the condition wherein either there's a problem happening or there's a problem about to happen. You see? So the state in which you're free of problems, it happens, but it only happens, it's like waves in the ocean. They rise and they fall. So in phenomenality, as body-mind organisms, we are conditioned by society and our survival mechanism to seek this absence of problems. But it's precisely like wanting the ocean to be free of waves. The waves come, the waves go. Oh, I've got it. The ocean's still. And the waves arise again. See, the waves are either on their way up, they're on their way down, there's a brief respite. The wave's on its way up, the wave's on its way down, there's a brief respite. So one of the things that I attempt to impress upon someone that comes to me for a one-on-one session is along with this reorientation of attention into the source, into the non-objective nature of pure presence, pure being, is this shift in attitude towards the phenomenal play. You see? And because it's never the aim of a teacher of non-duality. It's never the aim to help you to have more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. Although naturally, in my conversations, we will venture into that kind of territory here and there. But the aim's always to reorientate the student's attention that yes, life sucks at times, and life is wonderful at other times, and the focus of non-duality is not to make life wonderful more of the time and make life suck less of the time. Because having that kind of predisposition is precisely the kind of thinking that tightens one up, that causes a contraction and causes one to start fighting with life and hanging on to the good times and pushing away the bad times, what the Buddha warned against, craving and aversion. You've got to kind of learn to roll with the punches, and that's a secondary teaching that most Advaita teachers will give, and whereas the primary teaching is to reorientate, in my way of looking at this anyway, to reorientate the student away from identification with the body and the mind into that noumenal presence. You see, so the noumenal presence that is the bliss that the sages speak about is not one of the objects. It's not a state. You see, it's not a condition of the body and the mind. It's the essence of all conditions. You see, it's present, the suchness of isness, reality. The eternal reality is present in a terrible day, and it's present in a wonderful day. It's present in a happy state. It's present in an unhappy state. It's present in good fortune, and it's present in misfortune. It's the eternal. It's ever present. So when we're on this the spiritual path in this in this Advaita tradition, where we are in no way seeking to manipulate or engineer our lives with any kind of methodology, including yogic methodologies. We're not seeking to engineer our lives such that, phenomenally speaking, we end up with more good states and less bad states. That's a thing. And there's nothing wrong with seeking to do that. And there's nothing wrong with, and it's natural, I think, that people do this. You can't avoid it. Like, I like to eat healthy food that makes me feel better. And these days I avoid unhealthy food that will make me feel crappy. But I don't confuse that with I don't confuse that with my true nature, or I don't imagine that that's something overly profoundly spiritual. There's an element of that is helpful. If your body and your mind is somewhat healthy, that's a better condition for you to be seeking reality. But you see what a double-edged sword it is. What a finicky and tricky territory it is, really, because now you're in a state where you're convinced that there's some kind of way of being at the level of the body and mind that's more beneficial than another way of being. So already right now there's some investment in identification with the body and the mind. You see? And the goal is always to transcend identification with the body-mind, with the body-mind world. We're going for, in the non-dual tradition, we are going for the revelation of what is, the eternal, the absolute. And in light of that revelation, the universe itself is revealed to be an appearance, that it's non-eternal. It's an appearance in consciousness. In fact, what I really want to say is it's never happened. Nothing ever happened. The substratum of consciousness was, is, and forever will be. See, my point in saying this is we're not mucking around when we are seekers after union with God. You see? And it really does take a degree of self-abandonment. And this is the part where it becomes tricky for people. This doesn't mean self-abandonment at the level of the body-mind, of the thought process, or of the feeling process, you see, in the psychological apparatus, or in the emotional body. Those things are free. That dimension of you is free to be as it is. Leave it free to be as it is. There's a song that I love, To Let Myself Go, which means to let yourself go on, to let yourself be. So you need to have the faith to let your body-mind carry on as it is, as it always has been, as it always will be. You need to have the faith that your true nature is here and now and is transcendent of the body and the mind. All the sages will tell you this. I'm telling you the same thing. That your true nature is ever-present bliss, ever-present awareness, transcendental to the body and the mind. If you have some investment in identity with the body and the mind, such that you're wanting, more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff, and if in particular, if you have the idea that you need to manipulate your circumstances and get yourself into better positioning for enlightenment, that can be an endless quagmire. And you're starting out on the wrong foot. You've got to think of I want you to think of the yogis and the sages that lived in the garbage dump, that were beggars on the street. There's one famous Siddha guru, Zipurana, and he was smeared in feces. And it was a profound teaching, there was no arguing with him about, well, I just need to look better or, be in a better mood. And you see, the thing is, you can see where the confusion arises, because the student will say, well, but see, the student's going, it's almost inevitable. It's almost inevitable that you will think, well, then I'm not to carry. Imagine if you're suffering and you're trying to end that suffering. So you're on some quest. You've been through some trauma. Does what Dave is saying mean that therefore I should not continue this quest to end the suffering and heal my trauma? No, it's not what it means. See, what I'm saying is that will continue. You see, it's hard to get this across. That will continue. That's the drama in the phenomenal. It's a simultaneity of intention and attention that the non-dual awakening calls for. It can be as simple as whatever it is, this passion is happening in the moment. We could fill in the gap, whatever passion, whatever it is. You might be suffering passionately. You might be passionately creative. Fill in the blank. This passion is arising in the moment. This activity. Where is it arising? That question is the same as the question, to whom does this thought arise? It's arising now. So honor that now. Give yourself to that now, in which the passionate activity is arising. I'm reminded of Jesus of Nazareth. He's teaching, my kingdom is not of this world. He wasn't teaching people how to arrange the circumstances of their day. Render unto Caesar all that is Caesar's. My kingdom is not of this world. See? So it's a matter of, in the midst of that passionate activity, which could be suffering, which could be lovemaking, which could be doing business and succeeding or failing, could be boredom, it could be watching spiritual videos on YouTube. It could be watching UFO videos on YouTube. Isn't all that so interesting? My kingdom is not of this world. In the midst of that activity, my kingdom is not of this world. Because your kingdom is consciousness. Your kingdom is presence. Your kingdom is the oneness of being, which is not one of the objects, which is not one of the phenomena, which is not a state of the body and the mind. it's the presence in which the body and mind arises. It's the cognizing awareness that cognizes whatever state is arising. Look, beneficent mode of being arising. Look, grumpy mode of being arising. Look, morning coffee arising. Look, compassion arising for some suffering observed. You see, those all of those states of the body and mind arise and are witnessed. Because the totality of your life is done and dusted. The film is in the can, as Ramana Maharshi said. It's all your prarabdha karma at the level of phenomenality. Everything the body-mind is going to go through has already happened and was stamped at the moment of your birth. That's your prarabdha karma, the divine script relative to your body-mind organism. Everything that you will go through, every interaction that you'll have with another human being is predestined. So the idea in spiritual awakening is to shift attention from identification with the body and the mind into abiding as the presence in which the play of the life force is expressing itself. I like to say that we are the screen on which the play of the life force is expressing itself. And when we do this, it does strangely, very strangely, it has some value in the phenomenal dimension. Because when it is apperceived, or when it is revealed, that the same life force is functioning through all the body-mind organisms. It's the same self looking through all the eyes. There is you could call it a kiss of God in every moment. There's a field of oneness that becomes a field of compassion. So then there's a new energy that happens to express itself, that pervades everything. So it's important to remember that the warp and the woofed, I don't know how to say it, the warp and the woof, what are they? I'm not quite sure what the term is, but the ebb and flow of your life is itself an expression of the totality, is itself the pastime of God, the līlā, as they call it in the yogic tradition. It's an appearance in consciousness of consciousness. And so at the level of the phenomenal expression, consciousness expresses itself in duality. Yin and yang, up and down, male and female, night and day, birth and death, happy and sad, success and failure, the problem state, the no problem state. So that's where there's two sides to the coin of the Advaita 5 cents. Is viewing the taking the attitude and having the perspective that the entirety of the manifest dimension and the manifest expression is inherently filled with it's comprised of contrasting opposites, and it is the divine. It is the non-objective absolute expressing itself objectively. It's the noumenal expressing itself as the phenomenal. So noumenality and phenomenality are one, as Ramesh Balsekar put it. And then the other side to that coin is that what it is that is the essence of the phenomenality and its dualistic expression is non-dualistic and is not a phenomena, is noumenal and is oneness, is non-objective. It's worth pondering. I was reading on Facebook just now, Robert Adams. He comes into my feed. Oh, I love Robert Adams. And he said, just lose yourself in the teaching. So you could take this this statement. What's Dave Rivers saying? He says, phenomenality and noumenality are one. Noumenality is the oneness, the source. Phenomenality is everything in expression. And at the level of the phenomenality, it's yin and yang, opposites. So oneness itself is expressing itself dualistically. And while remaining the oneness. And the oneness is contained in both of the opposites. The essence of each of the opposites is non-objective. The essence of any particle of the phenomenality is the noumenality. It's all going on by itself. Because when we recognize and realize the oneness of being, we see that the self is everywhere equally and nowhere specifically. It's the center is everywhere. There are no separate self-centers. It's all going on spontaneously. When you think something, it's the universe thinking it. So when you seek enlightenment, you're the universe in its expression seeking its own fundamental essence, which is non-objective. It's kind of like God doing physics in the midst of his own play. Spiritual physics. Okay. Bless you.